On this edition of Motorcycle Experience, on our third day of riding in the desert that surrounds Las Vegas, Nevada, Mount Charleston delivers some high riding adventure. Then during this week's Red Adventure, expert rider Lawrence Hacking is back and talking about taking a stand. Then former pro road racer and sport bike tire guru Sandy Noche of Pro 6 Cycle will stop by to suggest you try out a track day. Plus, motorcycle journalist Colin Fraser rolls up with some advice on shopping for a used bike while looking back at the 2008 Kawasaki Versys. All this and more on Motorcycle Experience. Hello and welcome to Motorcycle Experience, the voice of motorcyclists everywhere. I'm Dave Hatch, and this week we'll kick off our show by sampling a motorcycle that not only talks the talk, but walks the walk, with its very own Spec Class racing series. Behold, Kawasaki's Ninja 300, a small displacement, liquid-cooled, twin-cylinder sport bike that Kawasaki hopes you might actually decide to race on Sunday and ride to work on Monday. And thanks to the new CSBK National Ninja 300 Spec Class, you could pretty much get away with that. Powering this Ninja is a liquid-cooled 296cc parallel twin. Kawasaki claims can produce a very respectable 35 horsepower. Now, to call this sport bike an entry-level motorcycle would be accurate, but thanks to its generous upright riding position, digital fuel injection, a slipper-type clutch, adjustable rear shock, and optional ABS, there really is nothing entry-level about this puppy. Plus, the new Ninja 300 is without a doubt a very impressive looking piece, an impression that is backed up by a very long and distinguished road racing pedigree. So it looks like it would be a total blast out on the racetrack, but what about the open road? Well, here's this week's guest road tester, Jen Martin. So Jen, we pushed the Cowie out of the garage this morning. It glistened in the sunlight. What was your first impression?
That it does not look like a 300.
Mm-hmm.
It does not look like a small bike. It actually, anywhere on the bike, if you actually look at it, you don't see 300 at all.
Mm-hmm.
First impressions, I match it. It's pretty color.
Yeah.
It's a great looking bike.
Fired up the motor. Kawasaki is an engine company. What was your impression of the engine?
The power's right there for you. It's very easy to shift going through the gears, but you have lots of power. I mean, we've got the 6 gears there, and you can use them all.
Braking.
Well, this bike comes with the option of either ABS or not ABS, and
Yep.
you know, I mean, for the extra little bit of price, the better brakes, go for it. But the braking on it, really smooth. Stopping, not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, very smooth.
The handling, the suspension, we were on some really nice smooth roads. We were on some really bumpy roads. Suspension?
Suspension's really good. You know, I mean, I ride a bigger bike, but this is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
On the twisty roads that we had here, and taking it for a loop. Very light, very nimble, nice and easy. And yeah, I mean, when you're taking some of the grooves and things like that, you really didn't feel it. It was nice and smooth.
How did you fit this bike? Because clearly it's designed for, someone who may not be all that tall. Very narrow saddle,
Yeah.
very short reach to the ground, low saddle. So how did you fit?
You know what? Surprisingly, I fit well on it. I was sitting into the bike, which I really, really like. I wasn't sitting on top of it, sitting into the bike. My knees fit right underneath there, which was really perfect. It felt very comfortable. It felt like I fit.
Right.
In terms of footwear, I have a pair of adventure boots on, and kind of getting underneath the shifter a little bit more challenging, but I mean, just getting used to it. If this was my ride, I would adapt, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't feel small. It was lovely having it so light and nimble.
Now this is a sport bike, it's a race replica. Should we be talking about things like wind protection?
Yeah, I mean, you should. I'm used to that. I have a sport bike as well, and I didn't feel any more buffeted around. Like it didn't disturb me. Let's just put it that way. I didn't notice it. Now we got on 80-kilometer roads. We took it a little bit higher than that, but
yeah.
I didn't go we didn't do any of the 400 series roads or anything like that. So getting up over, 120 or so. But I didn't notice it. It felt. I wasn't being thrown about.
Around.
No.
What about the switch gear, the turn signals, the mirrors, just the overall cockpit, the information?
Well, yeah, everything's right there. The only thing I think I had a little bit of challenge with, and you pointed it out to me as well, I left the signal on. Visually, the signal light is very light. I guess hard to see when the sun's beating right down on it.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't have a sound. So I had it on.
You got caught with the signal.
I got caught with the signal on, which is never a good thing. So you obviously have to cancel it yourself. So there's that. But the display is nice and large. Your speed is right there, so you know what you're going.
So Jen, who are we going to recommend this bike to, and what are they going to do with the bike?
It's a good entry-level bike. The power's not too crazy and out of control that a new rider couldn't handle it. As seat height, very comparable to the other smaller 300s as well. So to throw a leg over it, you're looking at a wide variety of people that it would fit.
Yeah.
But it's so smooth. So yeah, I would see multi-purposes in town. And again, for small or longer trips, it's got a great power, and you're going to be using all the gears. That's the important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the one lasting impression?
Lasting impression, it fits. It just for me as a taller rider, it fits quite well, and it's just a fun ride.
Fun factor.
Fun factor, absolutely.
Oh, I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
You were smiling a lot today.
I was.
All right.
Except with the signal light off.
Great job. Hang in there, we've got plenty more experience still ahead. Next, expert off-road racer Lawrence Hacking says stand up for your next adventure, while Norm Wells and I strike it rich down in Las Vegas. Portions of Motorcycle Experience are brought to you by Honda Canada, BMW Motorrad, and Olympia Motorsports. Closed captioning of Motorcycle Experience is brought to you by the TELUS Ride for Dad. Welcome back to The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now for this week's Red Adventure. Today, Lawrence Hacking wants to talk about getting off your seat. But before we do that, let's catch up with this week's Ultimate Ride. So on this, our 16th Ultimate Ride, Norm and I are spending 4 days and nights using what is often referred to as the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, as our base of operation. But due to some crazy logistics and scheduling issues, the trip itself came together at the very last minute. And as a result, to be honest, we found ourselves winging it quite a bit more on this trip than we do usually on one of these annual outings. The first couple of days were extremely high on the natural beauty and red rocks quotient, but thus far on this trip, we were starved for some elevation and canyon twisties. But on day 3, all of that changed. Well, Norm, here we are midway through day 3 in our Viva Las Vegas Ultimate Ride, and we're in Pahrump, Nevada, and we've just had a plate of tacos at Tacos El Cerro, and I am stuffed.
Exactly, just like yesterday.
Oh man, what a lunch. It was great. But the only thing that was better than the tacos was the riding this morning. It was just a terrific ride. We headed out north of Las Vegas, and boy, fantastic surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. We left at 7:30, like our normal time, and took the 15 up to the 95, and then came out of Las Vegas, and very quickly afterwards we came upon Highway 157, which was one of the ones that we chose now to loop off the main road, and again, I had no idea what we were going to be in for, but it was a great road, and it really gave us a real treat this morning. Yeah, well, we started off in a canyon, and slowly the elevation just got higher and higher. Suddenly we were at 3,000, 5,000, and next thing you know, it was the signs for Mount Charleston,
And it was just a beautiful road, and once again, we had it all to ourselves.
And we got up to 8,400 feet there, and that was incredible, and lots of snow. You know,
Yeah.
I know it's December, but I didn't expect to see snow on the Nevada trip this time around, but it was a very cool road. And if you're going to do that trip, you know, give yourself some time, because there's so many pullouts for vistas and pictures. At the 8,400 mark, there was a beautiful area where you had about 180-degree panoramic view of different desert views from that level. And it's very cool.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
And again, typical of what we've experienced out here so far on this journey. This morning it was about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and here we are standing here. It feels to me like it's about almost 70 degrees.
Yeah.
It's really warmed up. So what do you have on tap for us this afternoon?
Well, it's going to be another one of these little side journeys off the beaten path. From Pahrump now, since we're on the west side of Mount Charleston, where we were on the east side this morning, we've done a complete loop around the mountain. I thought we could ride towards it and see what it has to offer on this side.
Awesome. Well, we got plenty of time, plenty of sunlight, great weather, full bellies, lots of tacos. Awesome. Excellent. Viva Las Vegas. Be sure to tune in next week and continue to follow along in our ultimate ride down in Las Vegas, Nevada. As for now, let's catch up with Lawrence Hacking and get some great tips for your next adventure. So Lawrence, this week on the Red Adventure, you want to talk about riding standing up. And it's one of my favorite subjects because I have loved riding standing up. It's so comfortable, but there are many reasons why we do this on the adventure bikes.
Yeah, basically what you do when you stand up is you essentially lower the center of gravity of the entire package, the motorcycle and the rider. For example, I have 160 pounds of ballast that I can use to make the bike do what I want it to do.
Right.
And as soon as you stand up, what it does is it allows you to make very precise movements on the motorcycle to actually control the bike and make the bike do. You put the wheels exactly where you want to do it.
Right.
And what that does is it allows you to
control the bike better.
Especially
when you're in conditions like this where you've got soft sand or gravel. So essentially you're taking your center of gravity and your weight from the saddle, you're lowering it right through the pegs.
That's right.
And you're making the bike more stable, right?
That's true, yeah. It's more stable, it's easier to control. You actually are able to move your weight forward and back. And my thinking is everything behind the steering head is a pendulum.
Right.
And you want to keep that weight as far forward as possible to minimize the effect that your weight has on what the motorcycle is doing.
Right. So there's a couple of things about standing up as well. It helps with your visibility, clearly. But also your body then becomes sort of like a shock absorber. You're absorbing the impact a little bit more through your body.
Yep.
But in doing this, practicing this with Clinton Smelt recently, we were steering the bike with our feet, and that was interesting. Like you can also control the direction of the motorcycle with your feet.
That's right. Yeah, you can weight one side or the other side of the bike with applying weight to the outside foot peg or the inside foot peg, depending on what you want to make it do. And it takes a little bit of experimentation to figure out what effects you have with weight change and weight movement.
Yeah.
But once you do realize that, it actually is a really effective way to ride a motorcycle.
Right. And so it's something you need to practice.
Yes.
You need to get comfortable with it. You want to be standing up in a relaxed position. You're not gripping the bars. Your chin is kind of over, as you mentioned, the steering head of the motorcycle itself. Your back you're not bending your back to the degree that you're actually fatiguing your back. And that brings me to the final point. When you are riding in that position, I just find I can ride so much further, so much longer because I don't get tired.
That's right. Your body takes much less less hits. For example, you use your legs as suspension, so you actually kind of ride like a little bit of a jockey, and it's much smoother and much less fatiguing when you're riding, especially all day long.
And again, so this is something we would apply gravel roads, fire roads. We're certainly not riding down the 400 series highways like this.
No, it's for off-road conditions, I'd say.
Perfect. Well, some great advice there on standing up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence.
You're
Good
welcome.
stuff. Still ahead, veteran motorcycle journalist Colin Fraser has some sound advice on shopping for a motorcycle. And on shifting gears, track day organizer Sandy Nochi says prepping for a racetrack day is easier than you think. Welcome back to Motorcycle Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now for shifting gears. What's this? Interesting. Let's make sure we put that on there. Anyway, let's catch up with Sandy Noche this week as he wants to talk about prepping your sport bike for your first track day. You know what else is new? So Sandy, you've been organizing track days across Canada for how long now?
For over 20 years.
20 years. So you know a thing or two about
a little
track.
bit.
And how many would you have in a year?
We have as much as, well, this year we have 35 track days.
Wow.
At various tracks.
That's crazy.
It is.
So this is perfect. Let's talk about somebody getting prepared for their very first time on the racetrack. So they've gone out, they've bought an R1, an R6, something like that. They've been riding around with their buddies, and now they're thinking, I want to take this to the track. I want to improve my riding skills. What do they have to do to prep a bike? This is a track bike, an R1 that's been prepped for the track. It looks like it's had a lot of work done to it.
Yeah, people think you have to go this far, but you don't. Basically, we ask that you remove your coolant, tape up your lights, remove your mirrors, or tape them up. And basic maintenance, check your tire pressures and make sure your chain and sprockets are adjusted and lubed and brake pads are functioning, and you're good to go.
Wow, now do the bikes go through a technical inspection like we would during a race day?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're actually more strict in certain things because people will have their street bikes, may have been on the road for X 20,000 or more kilometers, and some things may be lacking, like fork seals and stuff like that. So I wouldn't expect that just anyone could show up with leaks and loose parts, but generally a stock model is good to go with the coolant removed and water replacing it.
Right, so let's explain that for a second. You're going to ask them to drain their coolant and replace it with water, so there will be liquid in the radiator.
That's correct.
But maybe we better tell them why we want the coolant out.
That's pretty easy. It's basically coolant's very hard to clean up. If we did have a spill or a leak, it is very slippery, and it could cause other riders to fall down.
Right.
So we just asked for, it's a very simple and safe, cheap way to go track riding. All we ask is that your coolant is removed and you're good to go.
Now, what's going to get my bike rejected if it goes through tech? What kind of things can go wrong in tech?
Well, I mean, loose parts, which typically you can fix. Leaking fork seals, where there's enough fluid coming out of it that's getting onto your brake rotors and your brake pads, causing you stopping issues.
Right. Okay, so I got my bike ready to go on the track. What about myself? Are there anything you tell first-time track people to consider when they come out to a track day? Like how much time will they get on a racetrack?
Well, they'll get up to 7 20-minute sessions a day, and that is a lot of riding. It is a very physical sport. With my experience over 20 years, I see young guys in very good shape and older guys in not so great shape. You know, getting tired at about the same rate, and it's a lot of it is about how much energy you expel using it, going out there. But generally, you want to be in good shape, have some good meals, and be hydrated, and get ready to enjoy the day.
Yeah, on a hot day like today, lots of water.
Lots of water.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Sandy. Thanks for walking us through prepping for our first track day. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great stuff.
Okay then, now that we've got you all set to ride, stay tuned because next, Inside Motorcycles senior editor Colin Fraser has some great advice on shopping for a used motorcycle. Portions of Motorcycle Experience are brought to you by Honda Canada, BMW Motorrad, and Olympia Motorsports. Welcome back to Motorcycle Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and we'll wrap up our show now by stepping back into the time machine, traveling all the way back to the year 2008, the summer when we first sampled Kawasaki's Do Anything, Go Anywhere parallel twin, the 650 Versys. But before we do that, let's pay a visit to the used section at our local motorcycle dealership. Here now is Colin Fraser.
So Colin, this week in the Used Bike Corner, we continue our exploration of shopping used because really, quite frankly, there are a lot of great values out there right now. We've talked about walking around the motorcycle and what to inspect visually, but we've not talked about taking the seat off or the saddle off, and you said pop the saddle.
Have a look at what's going on underneath, how clean and tidy it is. And by tidy, I mean, what's the wiring situation? Is there a lot of aftermarket stuff? Has it been done correctly, or is it just a big spider's nest of pieces? You want to make sure that everything electrical is appropriate. That's hard to do. It's one of the hardest things to troubleshoot. So bad wiring is a big problem, or a lot of corrosion or arcing or signs of problems underneath the seat. You want to, cycle through, start the engine a couple of times, turn it on and off, make sure the turn signals, the brake light, high beam, all those things work. And then if you can get to the battery, and lately it's getting easier, for a while their batteries were very hard to access, but if you can, it's not bad to run the bike with the meter on it and make sure the battery's charging correctly. Now, of course, batteries are consumables. You have to replace them like you do with tires and chains and sprockets, but that would affect the price. It also, again, suggests the quality of the maintenance, because a serious owner doesn't let the battery get totally worn out. He cycles through and gets a new one.
Okay, and this week as we look for used motorcycles, we're looking at a 2008 Kawasaki Versys. Do you remember those?
I do. All-round type, almost early adventure sport kind of motorcycle, upright, very comfortable, big seat, good on the highway, not bad on gravel, and to some degree off-road. That has that Kawasaki vertical twin 650 liquid-cooled engine that's in a lot of those bikes, and I like all of them. It's even a successful flat track configuration for racing. So a very versatile, inexpensive but not cheap motorcycle.
Yeah, and right now you can pick one up certified for somewhere around $6,500, 7,000 Canadian dollars. I think that's a great price. But if you want to know more about that bike, here's how we felt about the Versys back in 2008.
Built around the sportier Ninja 650R platform, Kawasaki says the Versy name means versatile system. Powering the Versys is the same dual throttle body, fuel-injected 650 parallel twin found in the Ninja, mated to a cable-actuated clutch and 6-speed tranny. So, is the Versys a versatile system? Well, we invited Toronto Star motorcycle journo Steve Bond to sample the Versys on your behalf. And here's what he had to say.
Kawasaki, right? Motor company, sport bike company. We got a green one right behind us. Way to go, Kawasaki, huh? Something completely different.
This is called the Versys. It's short for Versatile Systems, and it sure is. I mean, this motorcycle will do everything. It's what you referred to back in the old days as a motorcycle.
Right.
What an amazing concept. If you wanted to throw your number plates on it, tape the headlights over and go racing, you could. You could do track days on this. If you wanted to throw the sleeping bag on the back and go to the West Coast, you could. It's a great thing for city traffic. It's up nice and tall, so you can see over all the sport utility vehicles.
Yep.
It's narrow for squeezing through tight spots. It's got a good motor.
Yeah.
It just does it all.
So I guess overall, going back to the way we started this piece, pleasantly surprised, eh?
Absolutely. I would have to give it 2 thumbs up, and this would go very close to the top of my personal list.
Really?
Absolutely.
So it's the go anywhere, do anything motorcycle.
It's a motorcycle.
A motorcycle. What a concept.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, Bondo. Great job. Well, that's it for this week's program, folks. We're all out of time, but be sure to tune in next week as we'll be sampling Moto Guzzi's V7 Cafe Racer. Till then, keep your feet on the pegs and your right hand crank. Bye for now.